Hi there. Well, it's been a while since I've posted anything. I've been kind of caught up with life in general, and I wanted to touch base with you today. Um, One of the things, before we really get started and jump into it here, I hope that each of you have taken my advice on my last video and went to Cliff High on BitChute and watched his Buttermilk Woo. And if you haven't done that, please do so now. Uh, it's bitchute.com, and you're looking for Cliff underscore high, and the name of the video is Buttermilk Woo. Please watch that. And so from here on, I'm going to kind of assume that you've all watched that, and your health is improved, and you're perhaps eating a better diet, and you're moving right along. Perhaps you've taken the advice and you've stopped watching that um, uh, device that you have in your living room that speaks to you all the time. Once you have kind of parted ways with that contraption, maybe you'll understand you'll start to live a better life. That's my advice at this point. Like I said, start with Cliff, watch his video, understand his video, and by this point, folks should be talking this up, right? The man has put together some information that, on a very simple level, in my opinion, it's one of the best saviors of humanity I've come across. So I recommend it wholeheartedly, now and in the future. Okay, so let's get into this little meat and potatoes, and I'm holding the camera here. I apologize. I don't have the best equipment to do some of this with, and I've been investing in other things that have been, frankly, more fun to me. And so the name of this today is The Duped. And what do I mean by the duped? I mean myself, you, probably everyone you know to some level, in some form, has been duped over their lifetime over probably a great many things. So I kind of wanted to talk about that, and I'm going to use my own information and past and experiences to kind of display that to you in a little better format. So I'll start with the obvious. You see a nice tie-dye shirt that I got here. I've got another one, and pardon me for the lighting. I'm working with very little here as far as what I got to deal with. Now here's a shirt I did the other day, and this will all come together for you in a minute. Okay, isn't that a pretty shirt? Now by itself, you would say, "Yeah, Pete, that's a lovely shirt. Nice job. Love the colors. Love the whole thing. It's really pretty," and it is. But what if I said that this was the same dyes, right? The same dyes, the same shirt. Now this one's a medium, the other one's an XL. I did that one for myself, right? And I did this one for my son Thomas. And if you see, the blue on this is a lot more vibrant and intense, where on this one it's a lot more washed out. So let's talk about that just for a second. And I know maybe a lot of you aren't into tie-dye, and the truth of the matter is I got into doing tie-dye because I listen to some tarot every now and then, and the girls are on it. I mean, spot on it. And so they've been telling me, you need to work on your solar plexus chakra. You need to work on your heart chakra. You need to work on your crown chakra. Back to the heart chakra. Back to the solar plexus. Well, for me, I kind of chose the idea of I'll you wear different colored shirts and kind of work on tuning my chakras that way. And I had gotten into a very simple lifestyle of white T-shirts, and that was a kind of a change of mind. Sitting here being told I am who I am for so many times from the girls that wearing black shirts and biker attire is probably not in my best higher interests. So I went to the white shirts feeling love and light, and let's go with team colors, right? But then as they started to talk about the chakras and how things needed to be kind of kicked into gear and this one or that one or whatever, I started to think about it. Gee, well, maybe if I just dye a shirt orange or red or purple or green, I can work on those chakras individually, and that worked. The thing I didn't understand or see coming, and universe works in such a wonderful way, especially with me recently, is that my creative abundance has been kicking into gear on so many different levels, not just with the guitar, but with the tie dye here. I mean, there's things you can see in in the graphics of these shirts that are rather amazing. I did one for my son the other day, and I said, well, what do you think? And he goes, I can see a picture of Anubis right on the chest, and I was just kind of floored, like, wow, of all the things you could have said, you hit one of my best friends in the upper realms. So okay. And when we turned the shirt around and it started to dry off, he says, "There's two onks at the bottom of the shirt," and he's worn it. He's run off with it. So I'd show it to you, but it's in the wash at the moment. And so I've been having a good time with these shirts, and the information that I want to shoot to you on this, okay? The duped. Get back to the duped. Let's get into this with both feet now. So the shirt that I showed you that I did for myself, that's washed out colors, kind of pastel, by itself is a beautiful shirt. And if you didn't have it to compare to this one, you'd say, okay, you're doing beautiful work. And I would agree with you. It's great. But if you have reasons to question one thing or another, and in my case, the process is pretty simple with these shirts. Is you mix up a batch of what's called soda ash, and you soak the shirt in the soda ash for at least 20 minutes, and then you wring it out, and then you can work with it and dye it, and 24 hours, 48 hours later, you've got a beautiful shirt. Or a mess, depending upon if you win or lose. I've been lucky. I haven't really done one yet that I can't stand. Like, I like them all. So I've kind of, like I said, I've kind of went a little overboard with the shirts. I'm having a good time with it, and I've ordered most of the colors of the dyes, and I've got quite the production shop going on here. I'm cranking out at least probably a shirt a day anymore, and at some point, I don't know, I'm going to have to back a truck up to the place and load all the shirts and go sell them at the corner someplace. But we're not concentrating on that right now. I'm just, like I said, I'm doing this kind of as more of a fun thing. I've made some shirts for some friends, um, and like I said, I'm just having a good time with it. Anyway, so the reason why the one shirt is washed out instead of vibrant colors like you see here is because I went on to YouTube and I typed in soda ash. I'm running low on soda ash. So where can I find soda ash? I I know where I can get it, but I have to. It's in California, and I have to pay for the shipping, and blah blah blah. Right. So can I find it locally? Is it something easy to find, or do I have to pay the shipping? Was really the ultimate question I was at. And funny thing, I found a bunch of videos that said, okay, well, you could use the Arm& and Hammer baking soda, and you can essentially cook it, and you'll end up with soda ash. And I saw another video where you can buy this one product, and it is soda ash. And I had already had some of it, so I, trusting guy. I'm love people, and I take information that I get for the most part, and let's use it. Let's figure it out. So these two ladies on one of the videos said that this one product that you can buy in Walmart was soda ash. So I did this shirt here as a test, and as you can see, I got washed out colors. So I was duped, right? The information, because the very next day I did this shirt with the exact same dyes that I had left over from the other one, and basically ran a solid test of what I thought was soda ash and got the bleached out colors to the vibrant colors I got here with known soda ash, and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the one product that they said was soda ash isn't soda ash. So I was duped. And in conversations that I've had with my son and others, I've noticed recently that there are so many people that have been duped. And I mean duped on a magnificent scale that is so far beyond the realms of anything I could have imagined. I felt compelled to do a video about this. So I'm going to give you a couple other examples that will all sort of tie together a little bit here of where I'm trying to drive at. So the shirts here, very simple, is now and here. So yeah, some of the things you see on the internet aren't true. Some of the things are true. What do? In my case, I ran a test. I tested that information before I ran with it hard and put any real money and effort behind anything. I tested it. Okay? So here's a quick story for you that by itself, and I'm sorry if you hear a little bit of snoring, that's my dog that's in my lap that will not move. The animals around here are basically glued to me. I feed the cats outside, and it's weird because there's so many bad energies running around here. The cats will not eat unless I go outside. And I literally have to stand there by their food bowl, within 10 feet, and they will eat. So, anyway, I don't want to slip away from this too far. Duped. Okay? So, when I was a kid, my dad told me a story about the Great Dust Bowl. Here we go. The Great Dust Bowl, something you can look up and you can find information on. And where this country was basically brought to its knees with food production because, well, the answers to that, to me, over the past many years, kind of were questionable. Now, I've only been living here, almost 7 years, I guess it is, or about a little less than 7 years. And I came from Florida. Originally came from New York, moved to Florida when I was in my mid-teens. And I had heard the story there quite a few times from the History Channel or whatever. And they talked about the Great Dust Bowl. And I had seen pictures of children and families sitting down at their dinner table, and their dishes that they ate off of were upside down so that the dust wouldn't collect on the plates. That's how bad the Dust Bowl was. And like I said, I came from Florida, okay? And here's another little story for you. I went through quite a few hurricanes in Florida, and one of them parked over top of my house with the eye wall literally beating my house apart to the point of I had my wife and child both in my motorcycle leathers and helmets in the tub in the bathroom with a wooden cover over them so that the possibility of the roof coming apart, and it sounded like we had already lost part of the roof early on. And at 140 knot winds, it was a wicked about 14 hours until that nice little hurricane moved off of us. When it was over, most of the shingles were destroyed, and I needed to put a new roof on the house. But very luckily, everything stayed intact, and the house held together. But I'm here to tell you, for the entire time, I thought we had lost a good portion of the roof. It was that bad. The very next day, I went into my kitchen, and though the day before with the hurricane, I could feel a 40 knot wind in my house with the windows and everything closed. That's how much movement was going on in my house. Now, I'm an allergic person, and I'm here to tell you that we weren't the excellent cleaners of our house. And there were inches of dust above our headboard, and we had one of those big wooden headboards. There was dust all over the house, to be honest, before the hurricane hit. So the next day, went into the places where our dishes were, and they were right side up. They weren't upside down, and there was no dust anywhere on these dishes. And I dismissed it. I didn't think much of it. And it was one of those situations where, had anybody else gone through this and experienced what I had experienced, and the amount of incredible wind racing through that house with as much dust as it could have found, there was very little dust anywhere in the house other than the piles it was in, right? To be blunt honest about it. So then, years later, on our way up here to Washington State, we were driving through, I want to say, northern Wyoming, Montana. It was one of the Idaho for sure. Okay. We're driving through Idaho, and we're doing 70 miles an hour, and a truck pulls alongside of us, 70 miles an hour. The guy looks over at me and waves, and we wave back, and he speeds off ahead of us. And I was, looking at the back end of his truck as he was accelerating, and there was a windy day, and I saw for the first time dust, or wasn't dirt. It was something I hadn't really experienced before. And being a East Coast guy, we don't really get into the volcanic world very much. But lo and behold, on that trip across the United States, boy howdy, I'm here to tell you, that was my first experience. And I believe what I saw kicking up off of his tires was loose. Ancient volcanic ash. Simple as I can say it. Now, I'm sure there's probably some people out there that might want to argue the fact, but I'm here to tell you this was a fine grit, powder-like substance that got everywhere very fast. And I started to think back into my little history book of my brain, and I started to kind of think about those pictures that I had seen of those children sitting down at their table with their dishes upside down and having to pack rags around the seams of their doorways so that the dust wouldn't get into their house. And what was, to me, a very simple story about the Dust Bowl seemed like a no-brainer for, duh, that's a volcanic event that had happened. The aftermath of a volcanic event. I wasn't there. And I don't know, there's a lot of argument I think that could be made either way. Well, I'll throw this in there as a little extra bonus info for you. As we drove across the United States from Florida to Washington, we drove through Kansas. We saw maybe 4 trees in Kansas. No trees. Found that odd. Okay, it's the tornado zone. I get it. I get it. But when I got home here to Washington and I looked at Google Earth and I looked at the maps a little bit more and I really studied it for a few minutes, I realized that there was a big belt in the United States that basically looked different. And so my challenge is pretty simple. I'd bet that little incident that they called the Dust Bowl was uh, probably a moderate, maybe a small, maybe a moderate volcanic event of some type. So my question comes to the simple point of duped, right? Come back to duped. Were my parents duped by the information they had given me about that situation? My dad said he'd rode his bicycle through part of it. And he rode his bicycle all the way out to Phoenix, Arizona. I can't even imagine riding a bicycle from New York City to Phoenix, Arizona, but if that were true, and you drove through part of that Dust Bowl, either you didn't know anything about volcanic activity or you know, you bought the song and dance for what the answer was given as to what was going on. Our past and our history seems to be in a lot of question. And the evidence is almost everywhere we look as to duped. I'll give you another quick one. I'll make this one short. We were in a boat in the North Atlantic off the coast of Hampton Bays, New York, Long Island. To me, that's kind of the North Atlantic. I know some people would say, well, get up around Maine, that's more North Atlantic. Yep, it's more north. But to me, that's where we did our stuff. I don't know, we were 15 miles, 20 miles off the beach fishing. My dad had charts out, and he's looking over the charts, and I said, Dad, what are all these numbers on the charts? And he said, oh, those are depths of water. And so he's talking about the depth of where we are and whatnot, and his numbers were different than the numbers that I saw on the chart. So I said, well, how come there's different numbers? And I was a kid. I didn't know much. And my dad shot to me real quick. He says, no, I'm talking fathoms. Okay, what are fathoms? Well, that's naval talk for depth of water. Oh, okay. Were you in the Navy, Dad? Nope. And change the subject rather quick. As a kid, that was one of those, am I being duped? Is this the truth? And my dad wasn't one of those men that you question. So it was one of those things where it's like, all right, we'll sweep that one under the rug, but I'll keep that in mind. I've kept a lot of this stuff in mind as I've grown up and grown forth and ascended to new levels. I haven't forgotten anything, but I've questioned everything along the way. And that's kind of where we're leading here, right? One of the things in my ascension path has been a continued fight back and forth between spirituality, religion, back and forth. Grumble, 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 back and forth, back and forth. And one of the interesting things I found was that each time I go to pick up the Bible, I get into it a little bit, and I come across negativity that makes me question, wait a minute, is this my God that would do this? I don't know that I resonate with that story. That passage kind of doesn't really kind of click with me. Not to call it out or to say no, but it just really something I struggled with. I tried to read it again, tried to read other passages, and I had the hardest time with it. Now that I've ascended to a different level, I communicate directly with God. We tight. My ancestors, we're tight. And those of my haters, I'm tight with their ancestors too, because their ancestors realized, like, ooh, no. Pete's a good guy. Don't screw around with him. We're going to go help Pete's team. You're on your own, buddy. You're unprotected. That's just the way it is. And I'm not telling you that to brag or big time anybody here, but that's just kind of the way this is rolled out. But, and I got to make this, I got to get off of this. I got things to do here. Anyway, I kind of had a little bit of a chat with the Lord about this. And I have a mindset that maybe departs from others. But here's what I'm thinking, is that everybody is somewhat redeemable to a certain point. And I mean, okay, if you've done certain things, you're done. Right? Like, you're screwed. There's no going back. Messing with me has probably been one of those things. So, like I said, I talked directly with him, and here's kind of where we're at on this, right? Maybe it's a little too complicated, And all of this stuff about fearing God has been duped information. Maybe instead of fearing God, you love God. I'll put it to you in a little bit different terms. If you're a driver of a car on the freeway and you're doing the speed limit or under, you're behaving yourself, right? You're not doing anything wrong. Well, when the police cruiser comes up alongside of you, you might even wave and say, "How you doing?" You're not in fear of him because you're not doing anything wrong. Right? Whereas if you're doing 110 down the freeway and you see the cops, boy, that might just put a little shiver down your spine because you know you're going to get a ticket. Right? So this is more about your active movements through your world that dictate your outcome. So here's where we kind of fell on this, right? Let's just keep it simple. Instead of fearing, love them. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful to him for what he's given you. Be grateful to everyone that you have around you that have been able to teach you lessons in every different kind of way. And from now on, when you look over the fence at the family, next door to you, stop looking at the daughter or the son or the wife or the husband and I want to have sex with them, or I want to traffic these people, or I want their car, I want their life. Let's get an insurance policy out on them. Let's screw these people over. Let's take their money. How do I have what everything they have? Like, come on. Maybe it's time, we pull our big girl panties up, our big boy boxers up, right, and be real and true for a moment. And try to look past all of this previous information that we have been indoctrinated into and question it. Just question it. I'm not saying discard it, but start asking some questions. Start asking why. Why was I told this? Why was I told that? Does this story that I was told as a kid hold water? Like, is it real? Is this something I should be sharing with my children? Is this how I should be living my life? Or you can take it from a person who has walked the hard path. And I've been no prince. I'm here to tell you, I've been just as dark an individual as some of the rest of you. And why I've been given the chance to move up and forward in the ways I have, that's another video. But if you want to start maybe changing your life for the better, if you want to make it here in the future, because things are changing rapidly, and what used to fly here isn't going to fly for much longer. Just here to tell you that straight up. And the practices that have been going on unchecked for so long are about to have a very hard awakening, whether they like it or not. Little warning from the bridge, okay? So that's kind of what I wanted to get with you on tonight. The duped. And don't feel bad. I've been duped too. I've been duped about all kinds of things. You know, friends that weren't really friends that have done terrible things. This will all come out. Nothing's hidden. Everything's been seen. Everything's been recorded. On so many levels, it's even boggles my mind at this point. I'm impressed. So I'm glad I've been a good boy for past many years. So that's kind of really what I wanted to get with you on today. One, listen to Cliff's video, Buttermilk Woo on BitChute. Do it. Do it. You got no reason not to. That's the best hour of investment in time you can probably enough said. After that, just live a pious life. Be more, look at it this way. Treat others as you wish they treated you. It's just that simple. Be grateful to God, thankful to God, and love God. And if you do those things, you have no reason to fear Him. That's a fact. I don't fear Him at all. Never have. And it's because I've broken so many generational curses that I am in their good graces. Maybe you can be too. It's just some information from the heart because I care. And please understand this. I don't have a horse in your race. So if you want to go do all the things that you want to go do, that's up to you. And I'm not here to judge you. That's the other part. I don't judge. Not gonna. Haven't, not gonna start. We all have the capacity to be a better person tomorrow. And for those of us that are wise about it, you can start today. You can start right now. And a man that I loved very much before he died, he used to say pretty often, you know, there's no time like the present to start the day over. So that's all I'm offering to you. That's all I'm saying to you with love and respect. Take this opportunity that we have been graciously given and start to ask some of those age-old questions as, wow, is that right? Or maybe we should look into that a little bit better. And in my case, you know, you have to do the test, right? You have to walk the walk to find out the answers. How do you get the vibrancy of your life back? How do you get the vibrancy of your color back into your life? You got to work for it. And sometimes information can be expensive. And we have to put our time in, which is our biggest value. You can do this. If you just take a little bit of what I'm telling you and apply it. And maybe you're not going to be perfect. Maybe today's a fail. You get up tomorrow and you try again. And you continue to try. I have faith in you. He has faith in you. Your ancestors have faith in you. Maybe you need to go out into nature and talk to them a little bit. And find out what resonates with you. What is the truth? Keep this one last thought to you. I love you all very much. Have a blessed day.